I know. Every color bleeds into the same. 'Cause before you go and walk away, yeah, you better know where you're
Morning, Steve.
going.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Yeah,
Hello.
just
Hello, Martin.
Hello there.
had a bit of a problem with my headphones not working.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Stu.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jim, Glenn, can you hear us now? You're on mute, but I'm assuming that you can hear me.
that's it. Yeah, that's it.
hello, Sheila.
Hello. You all right?
I can hear you.
No problem.
I've been painting every fence I know. Every color bleeds into the same. 'Cause before you go and walk away, yeah, you better know where you're going.
Say good morning, but nice.
It's lovely. Just the right time.
Noon here.
Yeah. All clocks go back soon.
Yeah, ours next weekend.
We don't change at all.
Oh.
Oh, you quit bragging.
That'll be even more confusing. Even more confusing.
Well, I've actually downloaded the world clock for Ballarat, so I get it right now. I got the world clock on my iPad from Ballarat. I just go on there and see what the time is, and I've got it right then. You see, so
Have you got the right year?
Even
then?
at all.
right, yeah.
Yeah, it's about 1943.
Yeah.
So I wasn't born then, so
So
Don't know why
Martin-
I'm so.
Yeah. Oh, blimey. Look, it's Belson. Yeah.
Getting near Halloween. It's getting near Halloween. I'm all orange.
Oh, yeah, you are. Yeah. What have you done to your hair? You've been having a kip.
I've had it. Yeah, I've had it cut for a long time.
Yeah. It's going to go wavy.
Yeah, we'll finish up like Robbie's.
No, I don't know about that.
you won't live long enough for that, mate.
No, I suppose I will.
So who went to, Martin, did you go to Australia and meet with Jewson?
Did I?
Chris Jewson?
No, I didn't go
Yeah,
with Juice.
You didn't go. No, because Jewson, I had a phone call and he's talking about Steve Sorrell
Yeah, I was.
when he went to Australia and met Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he went there twice. He went there twice.
I took him
Did
down
he?
to
Yeah.
Tasmania.
I think he got banned he got banned the third time. They won't let him in again, I don't think.
Yeah, you know, he's got some good memories, he said.
Yeah.
How's that? Is that
Can't
better?
forget.
Yeah,
That's better.
that's better.
Oh, I bet,
Cheers.
Um,
Cheers.
I bet you
Cheers.
just want some drink on it.
Yeah,
Squash it
bit
down.
of red wine on it. Bit of red wine on it.
And it's meant to be good for you, isn't it? So,
What, red wine? Yeah, of course it is.
yeah.
And
Yeah, that's-
antioxidants or something, I think.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, in COVID, you see, you satinize your hands with alcohol. So if you drink alcohol, it should satinize you inside. So you shouldn't get COVID-19, should you?
Quite right too, yeah.
That's
Quite
my
right.
theory, anyway.
Interesting. Must be. No, he's not
Jason on the side.
Australian. He's from another
Hey.
country on the side of the world.
He's from America. They're only
There you
halfway down.
There you are. Yeah. Hello, whoever you are.
Hello.
Jason.
How are you?
Jason.
Jason.
Jason,
Yeah.
yeah, long time since I've seen Jason.
How are you?
Very well, and you, Jason?
Very good. Pretty good.
Good, good.
Very busy.
I can go off and you can use it.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Paul made it too.
Hello.
I see.
Also, Australian.
Thank God for the miracle of coffee.
Oh, the British, we have beer every breakfast. We drink beer.
You speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do,
was-
don't we?
I thought you had sherry, Sheila.
Oh, I got that, yeah.
You're a sherry drinker, you are.
Sherry with Coke in it. Yeah, I'm still doing
There
that.
you go. You're still doing that. Good God.
I gotta go visit Sheila now.
It's not all sherry. Yeah, they used
It used to be one.
well, it was, and then they all turned. The Norfolk lot turned up with 6 bottles, and I thought, I think I better knock this. It was took a long time to do Sunday dinner. That's the
It did. It did.
It used to get a bit longer as the week went
Now we
on.
have coffee, beer, so I mean we get the best of both worlds.
Dinner was supposed to be at 7. It normally sort of appeared about 9, didn't it, Sheila?
Don't exaggerate.
Only towards the end of the week. It wasn't so bad.
Yeah,
at the start.
towards the end of the week it was a bit like that.
Yeah, well, they were quicker dinners, weren't they? But Sunday it was getting the potatoes, my roast potatoes, get them right. Wasn't
Roast
it?
potatoes, yeah.
Yeah, they weren't bad. Yeah, yeah,
Good days.
yeah. It was
Oh,
great.
yes.
That's over 10 years now, isn't it, Sheila?
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is actually, yeah, because we
I think
stopped.
we
at-
last came down in 2009 when we brought Bob down, and Bob was ill, wasn't he?
Yeah, and we stopped at 62 and a half doing the interest holidays,
Yeah,
and then retired. Yeah, a couple of years later, proper like.
yeah.
Evening, all. Good evening.
Oh, still recovering.
Rich.
So apparently there was a pub in the Northern Territory that was offering a 6-course meal for $10. No, 7-course meal for $10. It was a pie and a 6-pack.
I'd go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you got out from underneath. I see you got out from underneath the cat's paw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's you with the pussycats. How I saw that.
Yeah.
Ah, so yeah, so you're a cat person.
We don't have a dog at the moment, but I grew up with cats, so I was a cat person by default.
Yeah, you look.
Then we got a dog, and apparently I'm a dog person as well. So go figure.
Ah, that's nice.
This is Steve.
Oh, hello, Steve.
Oh, it's lovely.
You.
One of our 4 children.
Mine will join me at some point, usually to climb over the minerals and try and lick the arsenic ones.
Yeah. This one in particular knows to stay away from the rock room, but the others not so much.
Our latest acquisition was hand reared from like a day old, and he's very, very cheeky, and he'll quite happily climb up your leg, up your torso, and then sit on your head.
Well, if he did that, he would probably tear your skin off.
Oh yeah, no, there's no qualms about that. The claws go.
He's about 18 pounds.
I'm gonna get a dog when my Steve dies. I decided. Because he's never really had had pets. Yeah, so.
But he's had you, Sheila.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had you, Sheila. Yeah.
But he's no good. He's no good at sort of like looking after anybody like that. No.
So he doesn't look after you then?
No, I run the care home. That's why they all used to come and stay with me. So actually, I ran a care home.
But yeah, we were a bit old, weren't we?
The wives used to send them away down to Cornwall to have a bit of a break. And so I used to look after them for the week and drive them about and, sort of let them hit things.
So a bit of collecting there and there.
You're used to having rock pets then.
Oh yes. Yeah, great, yeah. Well, I ran mineral collecting weeks for years. Around Cornwall, used to arrange trips and everything, but it's all changed now, and we've got health and safety sites of special scientific interest, I mean, we had a lot of paperwork when I was doing it, but now it's awful. You know, it's and a lot of sites just people you lose. Also, I've lost my contacts now because they've died. So they're all, you know, they've passed away, that sort of thing. So, but it was brilliant. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I suspect it's probably the same everywhere. We're seeing that here too. And as the suburbia encroaches more and more on rural areas too, we're finding that quarries are getting, old quarries that are abandoned are getting cleaned up and made good.
Yeah. What's interesting though, in Britain, or I suppose, but someplace you can go and collect fossils off a beach, and nobody's bothered. But you go down the beach and pick a stone up, like in Cornwall. Say I find a pebble of Vesuvianite or something. I can't collect that; it's illegal. But the fossil people are allowed to do stuff, which is a bit strange, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there have been some incidents involving flooding of drugs, packages of drugs on the beaches. So we're not allowed to collect anything on the beaches anymore. So.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
And we get stuff flying in, swimming.
That's a local method of getting the stuff ashore. That is.
Yeah, Cornwall.
That's the Cornish method.
They've been smuggling on the southwest coast for years.
Yeah. Every now and then in the news, there's some guys that are pulling all this stuff's all come up on the beach, and someone's and all the locals are trying to get down there quick.
Yeah. Do you remember
very good recent example of that, of course, is when the container dropped off a ship in Devon, and it split open, and there was people breaking the beaches for weeks, wasn't there? Coming out.
One of the best ones was we went down there one year when a boat had gone down just off St Ives, and that pitched a load of mahogany timber.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And then there was the boat. We went down to Gravel Hill Mine on one of our days, and the timber was just everywhere, and they were coming on the beach with pony and trap and four-wheel drives and dragging the timber off and stashed it on in the garages. And when the authorities started to try and find the stuff, they didn't know where it got to. All the Cornish people denied any knowledge of it.
A lot of people had some really. My dad used to do stained glass as a hobby, and he did a big stained glass for a new extension for a lady, and everything was mahogany. They were very useful. It was it's good stuff.
Lovely timber. Yeah.
Anyway, it's all good chat, this sort of stuff, but we are here for a reason today.
We're just starting to have fun.
Shut up. Yeah. I know. Just before we kick off, Bruce, I'm assuming you're ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So
I stayed up till 3 this morning finishing it up. So
excellent.
I figured for a sure thing my internet wouldn't work this morning, but it's good.
Just before we kick off, I have got volunteers for the next 3 sessions, which is good.
Brilliant.
So Frank Rulicki, next one, he's going to be talking on mineral rings. So that will be really interesting. Then Doug, you're after that. Where's Doug?
I'm right here.
Ah, cool. So you're still okay for that? I've got so many faces on the screen. So you're still okay for that one? That'll be on the 18th. Yeah, the 18th of November. And
that one's actually going to end up being 2 parts. So whenever I get the second part ready, I'll let you know.
All right, cool. And then on the 2nd of December, Steve Rust. So Steve, you're down the bottom there. So presumably you'll be okay for that one still?
Yeah, I'm still putting it together at the moment.
That's good. That's all good. All right. So that gives us a pretty good forward plan as well. But if anybody else is interested in adding to that list, let me know. And before I hand over to Bruce, if I can just remind everybody, please, to mute their microphones and turn off their videos. And if you need to ask a question, Bruce, I'm sure you'd be happy to take them either as is or at the end.
Yeah, sure.
So if you do need to ask a question, just unmute yourself for that and then remute afterwards. And over to you, Bruce. Thank you.
Okay. Well, before I start the PowerPoint thing, I thought I'd show you this book, Minerals of Nevada. It's a little bit of a tome. It's probably not as big as Steve Rust's slag book, but it's a lot of mines and a lot of minerals. There's no way I'm going to cover all of that today. What I've got going today is host disabled participant screen sharing. There we go. Let's see. So let's see. Is everybody seeing this? I hope.
Yes.
Yep. Good. Okay. So the idea behind this presentation is not so much all of the minerals in Nevada or all of the mines or even the best ones or anything like that. It's the ones that I've been to and have either had success or disappointment. And I'll talk about that as we go. There's a few disappointing ones. Nevada, come on. Nevada's got 948 actual minerals that have been approved. It's a lot for one state. You know, states are usually not as varied in geology as that. 48 different type locality species, and I have 61 of those to show you today. Not the types, but the overalls. And MnDAT shows that there are 5,418 localities in Nevada, but I'm absolutely certain there are more. Just looking at the USGS documentation, there are many, many thousands of mines that are just little prospects and things. This is a map of the United States. Most of you will recognize it. I live way up in the corner, way up here in the halfway between Seattle and Victoria, BC. And Nevada's about halfway between there and Tucson. So it's this large, sort of odd-shaped state. I put a little sun because it's a very hot place compared to where I live. The geography is, there are 16 different counties. I've been to about half of them. It's a long state, 787 kilometers north to south. But you can see all of these mountain ranges that stripe it. It almost looks like it's drawn with a scrape of fingers. And it kind of looks that way when you're on the ground. You'll see mountain ranges that run parallel for great distances with valleys in between. And that's really apparent in this relief map. I'm not going to get into what causes all of that because I really don't understand it, and it's not really something that I can explain. So what I'm going to do here is instead of going alphabetical or something, I'm going to go in the order kind of from north to south of the places that I have visited and by county. Humboldt County is the first one that I come to when I go south from Washington. And it has one of my very favorite mines in the world, which is the Silver Coin mine. I'm sure most of you as micro collectors have heard of or even have specimens from this mine. It's a tiny little mine, really. It never made a commercial success, but they tried for a while. It's kind of a little rat's nest of little awkward shaped diggings and stopes. But they have so far found 8 different new minerals there. Crimsonite, fairy bushmackinite, fluorowardite, fluorowavellite, Ian grayite, krasnowite, morigite, sodium, and zinc lipscomite. When you're looking at MnDAT photos, it's probably good to realize that a fair number of the IDs that people have put on them are not correct. And in many cases, it's not possible to visually identify one from several different others. For that purpose, and for getting an idea of how hard it is, I would recommend Paul Adams' presentation from a couple years ago at NCMA. He's got hundreds and hundreds of slides and information about the different minerals and photos of them. And a lot of them just freaking look the same. So this mine is organized into 4 different areas by most people. The one where all the rare stuff and the new stuff was found was called the phosphate stope. And this is a photo of my friend Tom Menzel working at that spot where the rare things were found. They called this the quartz pillar in the phosphate stope, and it's gone today. Back when we were there and I took this photo, I had no idea that's where, no idea that's where the rare things were. So I didn't get much from it. And now it's gone. So, oh well. But I have found a number of really nice things in the phosphate stope. This cuprite and turquoise, I think is quite pretty. This is one of the few places in the country where you get actual crystals of turquoise, and some of them are really attractive. And they occur right next to the chlorargyrite, which is what they were mining and why they call it the silver coin. There's another little turquoise cluster, but with a fluorapatite sphere down here. Makes for some nice fluorescent specimens too. Lots of colors in one piece. Now, there are a number of the new minerals, krasnoite and I forget the other one, are part of the plumbo-gumite group, and that's one of the things that you can't really identify by visually, and in many cases they're zoned from one to another. This is the tightest field of view, I think, of any microphoto I've ever done. It's just over 1/3 of a millimeter. And you can see the zoning in these little platelets. There's something of those of that group. I can't get it tested. It's too small, and it would probably be different from here to here to here. So I don't know that there's much point in getting it tested, but it's interesting, and there's probably several different species of that group in there. I'm not sure if the red stuff in the background is carminite or if it's something else. The crystals are too small, even with the microscope, to see. Now, these little sprays that look like olivenite, and you will see them on MinDat as olivenite, looks like the ones that were green are actually zinc olivenite. I mean, looked like adamite. The green ones are zinc olivenite. That's one of the things that Paul Adam has determined from his studies. These little green crystals down here is something out of the adellite to disclosite group. Again, you can't really tell them apart visually. There's a lot of jarosite in this area. I thought this one was nice because it's got these little hematite-coated quartz crystals around it. Of course, chlorargyrite is what they were mining, and this is the prettiest little chlorargyrite crystal I've ever found. Unfortunately, the stacking kind of makes it look like it's translucent, but it's just transparent, like this beautiful little yellow glass, very lustrous. And it lives in a little foil-coated box so that it doesn't turn brown. Another interesting and attractive mineral you can find in there is goethite. I really like this iridescent pattern where I've got a whole rainbow of colors. But tucked into this thing, amongst the botryoidal surface, you've got little white hexagonal crystals again, of the Palumbo gumite group. I said perhamite here because it's probably the most common, but it could be any of those. I think there's 5 or 6 in that group. All right, moving on to the arsenate drift, which is another large collecting area. Down a long drift, it's probably, I don't know, about 100 meters long. It goes down to a depth, I'm guessing it's about 40 meters below the surface, and that's the deepest point in the mine. And that's where I'm laying right here on my back in this spot, next to a little tiny knee timber. And if you can see right in front of me, there's kind of a bluish area on the wall. So remember that, and there's a picture of what comes out of there. This particular area I go to every time I'm in there because Joe Marty, some years back, found a Quetzalcoatlite cluster in there, and I'm just dying to find one. And I have not had any success, but I found some really nice things. Like rosacite, and again, chlorargyrite. Some dolomite crystals with really nice form. These little fluorite cubes coated with Ancona calcite. Some unknowns. I don't know what this is. It could be mimetite, I suppose. But it really kind of looks not like mimetite, so I don't know. It's probably an arsenate or a phosphate, but I don't know. And this, which I have used for my business card for years, came from that blue spot on the wall. These blue botryoidal surface, which I always thought was chrysocolla, but it doesn't act like chrysocolla in acid. And I don't know what the green blebs are or the little red spots. But I just think it's really an attractive mineral. I probably should get it tested someday. All right, the copper stope is kind of tight quarters. You have to crawl over, I don't know, probably 10 meters worth of rubble, broken up rock, and it's uncomfortable to get to, but once you get in there, it opens up enough to sit up. This is my collecting partner's son. This is Jacob, lighting the area up for me. I found some nice brochantite in several different habits there. Got these little, apparently twinned cyclics, which I've never seen anywhere else. They're growing together in several places at this specific angle. And you can see some terminations down here and here where they're not quite bumping into each other. This one's kind of an old picture, so I didn't really get the whole thing good, but it shows a different habit, a more traditional habit of brochantite, and some little mixite sprays. Of course, the clear fluorite cubes. So hemimorphite is pretty common in the mine. I like this little spray here with what I'm presuming is kidwellite spread around it. When I say phosphate stope or copper stope or arsenate, there's a lot of mixing between the two. It's not exclusive that way. So the phosphates, that's probably a phosphate, but I'm not really certain. Another jarosite looks a little different and mixed in with this beige green phosphate, which is, I don't know, could be leucophosphite or lipscomite or zinc lipscomite. Don't really know. It's zoned from an olive green out to this pale color in those sprays. All right, a different mine. This is in same district. It's fairly close by. The Red House Barite mine is the type locality for curatonite, which is a barium phosphate. A little bit unusual there. I've never seen good crystals of it, but it always has this kind of a almond green, light almond green color to it. So going south, we get a new county, Pershing County, another famous one for microcollectors. So we're going to start at the Majuba Hill Mine, which many of you know of. 102 different minerals with 2 type localities, including Goudeite and Parnowite. It's no longer accessible. When I went in there, you could get through really easy. They weren't real serious about keeping you out. But the last time I was up there, this is what I saw, and they mean it. There's no way to get in there. The danger sign in this case is probably one of the more serious ones I've seen. Sometimes you see these signs on just a little pit in the ground because they want to limit their liability. But this one, from what I've seen in there, it is dangerous. And talking to a number of people who've been in there when bad things happened, it's probably not a bad thing that it's locked. Here's my collecting partner, John, exploring up there. There was a I don't know, the bottom of a winze, a shaft going up from the bottom or the mid-level, which is where we were collecting, and a ladder nearby. So he went up to see what was up there. And I've never seen somebody come down so fast and pale. He was terrified of what he saw up there, which was apparently a boulder that was ready to come down and would have knocked him and the ladder all the way down 40 feet. So he says no. Got to agree. Although the chalcanthite coated passageways are pretty, very sparkly blue in the light. Many years ago, some collectors from California left a little museum of specimens there. And the sign, in case you can't read it, it says, "These specimens are here for the enjoyment and assistance in identification for all. This time, please do not steal the collection." I didn't steal the collection. So the only places that I've actually collected was in the tin stope, which is the one that was accessible when I was there. Little agardite spray. I use this as a test when I get my optics set up because it's really hard to capture those little fine needles. You get a lot of arsenates of copper in there, cornubite and cornwallite. I don't think you can really tell them apart visually. Cliniclase, which is one of my very favorites. Olivenite, there's several different habits of olivenite in there, including this blocky form. There's also a lot that's more hair-like and more common, but this one seems striking. So. Now down to the copper stope, which is a different area of the mine and the one that's probably the most dangerous now. These are all purchased or traded specimens. So the strachymurite, you'll find this on the free tables at a lot of micro events. Arthurite, quite a pretty color. Some nice chalcophyllites that really show the alternating bevels on the edge faces. It's got a little cornubite on it. One of my friends told me that she thought it looked like a Buddha sitting on a lily pad. All right, different mine, and not a great picture, but maybe you can see what I'm talking about here. Maybe that adds to the spooky sense I felt when I walked down this drift and saw this gigantic boulder. It had to be the size of a school bus being held up by these maybe 15 centimeter pipes. And I looked at that, and I looked at the dust in the air, which in a mercury mine couldn't be a good thing to breathe. And I just decided that I wasn't going to go in there, and have never been in. I have seen on Mindat some fantastic cinnabar specimens from there, but I won't be collecting them. This is a funky little one. It's not even part of a mining district. It's just a little fumarole out in the middle of this dry lake bed. And it's apparently called Humboldt House Sulfur Mine. The only name we've been able to find was from the U.S. Geological Survey. And it's still got a little bit of active steam, so it's still forming. The ground is very crumbly. My friend fell right in. But there's lots of sulfur in gypsum. It's not very nice. I guess I should post it on Mineral of the Week, since it's elements this week. But I mean, it's definitely sulfur. Nothing to write home about. Easy to collect though. It's right next to the freeway. Now, I don't have a photo of the Alpine mine, but which I have been to, but this is the road to the MGL mine, which is on the other side of, which is on this side of the ridge you see. The Alpine mine's on the other side of the ridge. They both have fairly nice garnet specimens to be found. I just really like the picture. About right around this corner, the road was washed out and we couldn't go any further. So here's some garnets from the Alpine mine. Oh yeah, this one was almost a disappointment, but you ever go into a mine and you can't find any specimens, but there's an efflorescence on the ceiling and you grab a piece of it thinking it won't make it home? Well, this chalcanthite made it home, and it's still in my display case 8 years later and looks just like when I collected it. So, really pretty color. Other than that, there was just evidence of a meth lab and a bunch of rat poop, so can't recommend it. Now, the Willard mine is one that's pretty famous for micro collectors and mineral collectors in general. It's got a lot of different phosphates that have been found there. There are 2 large pits. This is the largest one, and oh gosh, that's fairly deep. It's a couple hundred meters deep. So it's a big hole in the ground. And I have found at the bottom of that some nice fluorescent specimens. I don't know what they are, but there are several colors at once if you like that kind of thing. And the other pit, I don't have a photo, but that's apparently where the good phosphate specimens are found. And I'm going to have to go there with somebody who actually knows where to look, because I have not had much success. Okay, Washoe County, there's only one mine I want to talk about here. Washoe County is the one with Reno in it. And this mine, the Burris mine, is fairly close to Reno. Some years back, a couple years before I got there, the University of Nevada, Reno's mine tech program used this mine as a classroom project, and they remediated it and made it safe. And they did a really, really good job. They filled that whole adit with concrete so thick you can barely see it, but Jacob's standing there with this wall of concrete in front of him, and there's no way anybody's going in there. You know, there's a shaft up at the top, but you'd have to, it's got a bat gate on it, so you'd have to get through that, which if you're not a bat, I'm not sure you could. And then you'd have to rappel. So nobody's going in there, I don't think. So sad minor picture. And the reason I'm sad on this one is because this is what I was hoping to find. The Rickelsdorfite is spectacular from there. You know, I purchased this specimen years ago at Tucson, and I was really hoping to self-collect some, but oh well. Okay, Churchill County has some interesting things that aren't really well known. The Truckee district is one of these mine or mountain ranges that has a couple of different prospects and mines on it. I don't think any of them were commercially successful. This whole hilltop has a number of different little prospects, holes in the ground, and a drift and a couple of shafts. From the records I've looked at, they didn't make enough money selling ore to pay for the cost of drilling the drift. It was just really unproductive. So here's a look down one of those shafts, and yeah, you could get in there, but I'm not gonna do it. Some nice little copper arsenates, some conocalcite, some yellow crystals of I don't know whatite. And then my favorite conocalcite Japan Law twins came from there. And some pretty transparent chrysocolla. The Lovelock mine is out in the middle of nowhere, about 30 miles to the east, I think, of Lovelock, Nevada, which is also in the middle of nowhere. It and the nickel mine, which is about maybe a kilometer down the road, were both mined for nickel and cobalt about 100 years ago. As with all these 100-year-old mines, it's a little sketchy in there. Winzes are not fun. I don't know who made this shaky looking ladder and crawled themselves down and out of there, but I'm not going down it. There was plenty of material to be found without falling down a winze. And by the way, there's another winze in front of John's foot there. But there's lots of material. Spangalite. The spangalite from there is very nice. Brochentite. A lot of copper sulfates. Conilite. This isn't as pretty as the conilite you find from other places, but it's so uncommon to see it that I was happy to find one. Atacamite along with the spangalite. And a pretty little gypsum. All right. Now, if we go to the east a little bit, we get Lander County, and there's only one mine I want to talk about here. There are other mines. There's a very, very large gold mine. It may be one of the largest in the country. Round Mountain is in Lander County. And when you're driving up the highway, you're driving past it for 15 minutes. It's huge. It's really huge. So the mine that I've been to there, though, is the Linka mine. The mine is just off to the left side of this picture, but the stamping mill is still here on this hillside. Kind of rare. Most of the old mills and equipment and buildings are all gone by now, but in this case, there's something still there, and that beautiful mountain range in the back. It was April when I was there, and the mountains still had snow on them. There's one type locality mineral from this mine, potsite, which is a bismuth vanadate. The collecting is in a skarn zone with lots of garnet and other skarn minerals. And there's a fair richness of the bismuth minerals in there. They're all yellow, so they stand out pretty well. My friend John Meek took this photo of me wrapping. This is the clinobisvanite, another bismuth vanadate. I don't have a picture of the potsite yet. I have some, but I haven't gotten a good photo. And I've got the wrong mine name on there. This is Lincoln Mine. Lyon County. Now, this one is, I haven't had any success with micro collecting here, although I've found a few things. Nothing that's large enough to be really interesting or know what it is. But I found some nice turquoise there. There are dozens and dozens of old abandoned turquoise mines. None of them probably gem quality, but pretty as a colorful specimen. All right, Mineral County with the Candelaria district. Now, Candelaria is a mountain. I forget what the name of the mountain is, but it basically was a little community on the top of this mountain that was made to support a dozen or two different mines that were drilled into this mountain, looking for gold and silver. It was they had a real problem getting water up there. And I guess back then, 1880s, they were selling water for $1 a gallon, which these days is even expensive. There's still a little bit of the buildings left. I think this was the bank. We found a big vault door in there. This was a stop that my friend John and I took on our way from Seattle down to Las Vegas area for collecting. It's about halfway. And so we decided to spend the night on this mountaintop in April. And it was really cold and really windy. But in the morning we got up and found ourselves right next to this Georgina mine. And since we only had a couple hours, we decided to collect there. It's an old silver gold mine, and you can kind of see there's a greenish blue area that goes through here, a vein that goes through here, which is a nickel-bearing serpentine. There's a lot of that kind of a nickel green that you see in it. Apparently they have started mining this whole mountain again. Using new techniques. So I don't know that you can actually collect there anymore. This was back in 2018. There's some aragonite sprays that I found. They're kind of pretty, if not colorful. Found some anabergite. Those little sprays are about 1 centimeter across. So pretty good size for anabergite, and nice crystals. Going south, we've got Esmeralda County, and there are a number of different mines here too, but I've only been to one. The Broken Toe Mine. Now I'm sure there's a history behind that name, and I'm glad I wasn't part of it. But the best thing I found there was this little antlerite clusters on, I don't know, is that calcite? Maybe. Probably. Pretty. Now, Clark County, is famous for the Good Springs district. There are probably other mines to the west, but the Good Springs district, whoops, is just out of Las Vegas, about 50 or 60 kilometers to the southwest of Las Vegas. And it bumps right up against the California border, which is this diagonal border here. Got a lot of history. It was, I think it's probably one of the largest mining districts in the country, with over, let's see, there's 128 mines on Mindat that are in there. There may be others. They started mining it for lead back in the 1850s, but of course, once they found gold and silver, they really started to look around and do a lot of prospecting. There were uranium, platinum finds, a bunch of other metals. The Yellow Pine mine was really the most productive of the lot. It's now remediated, which is to say they've spoiled it. There's a little bit of material still on the tailings that you can find. This is John Meek's photo again. I'm not absolutely certain on the ID here, but it sure looks like sclerodite to me. Iron arsenate would occur there. Rosacite, I have found a number of pieces with hemimorphite. Olivenite, really rough olivenite, and what I'm assuming is beaverite. Now down in that valley is where the Yellow Pine complex of mines is, and up on the hill is the Alice mine. Probably was owned by the same people, mined by the same people. Unfortunately, the actual mine is closed with bat gates now, so there's no way of getting in. But there's a little bit of material on the tailings that are still outside. More rosacite and hemimorphite. Okay, on the other side of the district, we've got the Green Monster mine. Also remediated. The adits are all plugged in with mine foam. Lots of it. But there's still tailings. And within the tailings you can find aurocalcite. This was originally a zinc mine, but then they discovered uranium. You can see a little bit of something uranium on there. I don't know which species. My favorite is the boltwoodite that occurs there. Got some hemimorphite in the picture, again from the zinc mine. And I'm not sure what the green is. Might be smithsonite or something, I don't know. It does not fizz in, well, it's probably not smithsonite. It doesn't fizz in acid. All right, the Blue Jay mine is barely should be called a mine. It's really just looks like a little dozer scoop. Maybe 10 meters by 5 meters. It's really, really small little hole in the ground. But it has some really neat stuff, including this motramite and numibite, which you do not find very many places. More bismuth vanidates. The Boss mine is fairly near to these guys. You can see all the tailings up there on the hill. There are 3 different levels to this mine, and they're intertwined, and it's a real rat's nest back there. I've gone quite a ways into it and explored. I left one of my flashlights in there, so if anyone finds it, I'd like it back. But the thing that I'm looking for is, oh, just a minute. You have to hike up to this mine because the road is really, really bad. It probably takes about 45 minutes for us old guys to get up there. The thing I'm looking for is the Nisonite. It's probably the best crystals in the world of that species. The only place I have found it is on the tailings. I've never figured out where it came from in the mine, and I've explored most of the mine. I don't actually know of anybody who has found it in situ. Because I collect blue minerals, this is one of my holy grails. So I was happy to find some, even if it was on the tailings. All right, the Singer Mine is the last one got to tell you about today. It's also in the Good Springs district and is fairly easy to get to. There's a number of small adits on the hillside, and none of them go very far in, but there's a lot of good material here and on the tailings outside. It's really kind of surprising how little picked over it is. My friend John is in the foreground here. And my other friend Brittany is back here getting her mask on because she doesn't want to go in without a mask. So. This is a lead mine. So we got fornacite and iranite, which is pretty uncommon. It's like fornacite chemically, but instead of the arsenate, it's a silicate. Kind of a weird one. Duftite. Ediphaine crystals. These are kind of nice. You've got little bipyramidal or double terminated pyramids with hexagonal shapes to them. And then there's chrysocolla after malachite, which makes the colors nice. And some anglicite. Nematite. Well, I'm not certain on that. It might be vanadinite. These little hexagonal crystals. I'm not sure. I've never seen nematite quite that color, but it can be all kinds of different colors. So I don't know. It's one of those. Of course, the malachite. Speaking of mimetite, there's some really, really pretty bright yellow mimetites to be found. And they're small. That's less than 1 millimeter across, but still, that's what we like, isn't it? And I think this is my favorite from that mine. These sprays that are flattened out of nematite on chrysocolla. It's just, what a color combination. All right. Be careful in the old mines. Some of them really mean it. All right.
Excellent, Bruce. Thank you.
Excellent. Very good. Excellent.
Nice.
Great presentation. That's it. I'm moving to Nevada.
Great place to collect because there's not a whole lot of rainfall to make a lot of, all this green stuff that we have up in Washington that covers it all up. So you can actually see the rocks.
Hey, Bruce, that white nematite from the Singer Mine,
yeah,
very similar to the stuff from Gold Hill.
Okay.
It's also very similar to phosphohedrophane.
Oh. Okay. Interesting.
I've seen a lot of things that are white mimetites and have phosphohedrophane or just plain hedrophane on the tips.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I never considered that.
Bruce, did you realize that I was the one that brought the first turquoise out of the silver coin back in the 70s?
No, I didn't.
And Dick Thompson and I mapped that mine for a talk he gave at the Northern California Micromount Association.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's wonderful stuff.
It's a great place. Did you ever get any of the chlorargyrite on calcite?
I have not seen that. I've seen it on gypsum.
No, when we were there, when you went down the main adit, the main drift going in.
Yeah.
right, if you, there's a kind of a flat area right straight ahead of you.
Yeah.
Up on top of that flat area.
Oh.
I still have some. I'll send you a piece or two.
Okay. Yeah,
Bruce,
it's one of
does
my favorite places.
does the floor waverlight have, is it zoned at all, or is it sort of pure?
From what
from the
I've
centre?
heard from Paul Adams, it sounds like all of the wavelite in there is floor wavelite. And it sounds from talking to him like probably all of the wavelite in the region has got the fluorine in it.
Right.
Everybody's just assumed that it was wavelite because it looks like wavelite, but it has extra fluorine. So they
So it
found
fluoresces, yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
it fluoresces, but it has fluorine.
Right. Well, I'm about 20 miles from the type locality of waverlight where I am now, but the stuff we find at High Down, a lot of it is banded as from the centre outwards, and different bands will reflect on long wave UV and others won't. So we're assuming there's a mixture of floor waverlight and less whatever and pure wavelite perhaps.
We'll have to try that. I mentioned that there were some nice fluorescent specimens to be had in that phosphate stope, and a lot of that area has floor wavelite. I haven't ever tried to identify which minerals it was coming from. That might be one of them.
Thank you,
Bruce.
Yeah,
Bruce, there are nice crystals of keratinite, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I probably have an extra one if you want one.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to have one.
They're actually really, really nice crystals.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'd love to find one. It seems like it should be such an easy place to collect. You just drive right down into the pit, but there's a lot of barite and not a lot of keratinite.
Yeah. I believe it, but the crystals are nice, pale green, bladed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to take a picture of some for sure.
I'll message me on Facebook or something, and I'll send you one.
Okay. Thanks.
So Bruce, you're getting into collecting other than blue minerals now.
If they're interesting and unusual, and if they make a good photo, then I'm all about them. Yeah, I really like things that I can take a good photo of to either advance the science in some way or to make them, more visible to collectors, or to make art, to make something that's really attractive. So
He is good.
Bruce?
Yes.
If you get to Tucson sometime, I've still got about 40 or 50 flats of stuff that I collected out of the turquoise area.
Oh, okay.
That is still field wrapped.
Okay.
They've never been undone.
Yeah. I've got a fair amount too, but the fact that you collected it a long time ago means that it's probably more likely to have some really interesting, unusual things in it.
I'm more than willing to let you go through stuff.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping to get to Tucson the next time it's actually held. We'll see.
I think you're out for this year.
Munich just canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. I was doing this Tucson show, but I opted out as well.
Yeah.
Just as an aside as well, Jeff has just posted a photo of something from the silver coin, and he's looking for assistance with identification on it. So he's posted it in the Facebook group.
Oh,
okay.
So interesting story. I actually just started working at that property last month.
Which one?
The one that the silver coin is on, Iron Point.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Really? So is it under active claim now?
Yes, it is. So they've been doing drilling since 2018, looking for vanadium across the property, and my company's looking at it for gold.
Interesting.
Yep. So I'm going to pick your brain on it.
Are they finding anything? I mean, there's definitely silver still there. I mean, as far as the chlorurgyrite.
There is. I found some chlorurgyrite on one of the dumps. there's Carlin type gold as well that was drilled there. Newcrest drilled it back, I think, in the 80s or 90s. This other company's looking at it. They found some great depth too.
Don't forget too. There's the good MinRec article on silver coin. That was what, a year ago now.
Paul Adams' article.
Yeah, that was Paul Adams again. And if you ever get a chance to find his talk from NCMA, he started at that talk and went way beyond. I mean, at that article, way beyond.
I just went looking, Bruce, for NCMA on the Google while you were talking. I couldn't find anything. I could find some motoring associations, but if you've got a link to the references, that'd be fabulous.
I'll try and find something and put it in the group.
Awesome. The NCMA.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Bruce?
I'm sorry.
The Mineralogical Research used to host their club page.
Yeah.
And Shannon's Minerals have just bought them, so.
Oh.
You might be able to find it through that. I think you can still do the mineralogical research, and then they've down on their links, they have a link to the NCMA page.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no other questions, we might finish up for the day. Thank you again, Bruce. It was excellent.
Right. Thank you all.
Yeah, terrific. Well, yeah, very good. Very good.
Thanks, Bruce. Very good.
Thank
you,
Bruce.
William. Thank you.
Look forward to Frank in time.
Absolutely great.
Thanks for hosting again, Steve.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for attending, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
you very
guys.
much.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.